Hey, welcome to Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. This is episode 105 and it's called Organic Social Media, Your Testing Ground. I want to talk to you today about the importance of organic social media in your testing ground and being your testing ground, your sandpit for your paid advertising. This is something I probably don't talk about up front a lot. Like I don't dedicate a whole episode to it. I don't know if I ever have. But I often make these comments in my other podcast episodes about the importance of organic social media to use it as a testing ground for what ads you should be running. I want to share with you today a couple of examples I have experienced in the last month around my e-commerce brand and this podcast as well, two different ad accounts, on the results I have had when I use organic social media as my testing ground to determine what ads to run. This episode is yet another reason why I love organic social media. I honestly do. When I look at clients' accounts, their Google Analytic accounts, organic social media as a revenue driver, as a driver of engagement, in other words, a user who's on your website for a really long period of time, organic social always features really highly in my clients' Google Analytic accounts as far as the top results for the users who spend the most time on your website and the users who are the most engaged on your website. In other words, they're classed as engaged as far as Google's concerned, or they have a high event count. In other words, the events per session, the number of like pages they view, places they click, places they land on your website, the number of events and actions they take on your website are really high. Like they're some of the highest users are ones who come from organic social media. So organic social media is not dead, but organic is always best when it's paired with paid. I truly believe that if you're going to do organic social, do paid advertising as well. If you do paid advertising, then bulk out your organic social as well, because they really support each other. They really elevate each other. The results for both will be far better when you have both at the same time. And for this episode, purely around why having a robust organic social media strategy gives you a great place to find content that you know is going to perform well for you in ads because of how well it performed organically. So let me give you a couple of examples, which is I looked in my Google Analytics account for one of my accounts and I didn't do that first. Let me go back. So I went into my content, in where is it? Facebook Business Manager or Page Manager, wherever your insights is for your content. And I looked at the last 90 days of content and then I filtered by reach. You can filter by reach, you could filter by reactions or comments or shares to determine what is a good piece of content to swap from organic or to duplicate or to use from organic and put it into an ad, into a paid traffic campaign. So you can decide what metric makes the most sense for your business. I've filtered by reach, particularly because I wanted to not boost a post because I went and built it in Ads Manager, but I wanted to use an existing post in an ad for post engagement. Like I wanted to pick something that was getting great reach organically, and then I wanted to push some paid traffic juice behind it and have it reach more people on the platform, more Facebook users, more Instagram users by reach. So I filtered by reach and I looked for one of my best performing organic social media posts in the last 90 days. The one thing you need to make sure when you select the type of post you want to use in a paid campaign is obviously needs to be a little evergreen. Like you don't want to pick something, if you ran a sale a month ago, you don't want to choose that post and then spend money behind it if you're not running the sale anymore. And you probably want something that doesn't have to be product based, but it definitely needs to speak to your ideal customers. Like, for instance, a couple of my organic social media posts that were performed the best on reach were actually around my planning system. So what I do with my planning, like my diary, my bullet journal, my Trello boards, which is great, but it's a little too far from my target audience. Like it's a little too far removed from my ideal customer. So I left that post and I chose something else that was a little more specific and aligned with who my usual shoppers are, my usual customers are. So not content that sits on the edge of your brand and your brand voice and, who your customer is, not something that's kind of on the edge. Like, for instance, if something is viral because it was trending on social media at the time, but really has nothing to do with your brand, don't choose that post to add to a campaign and pay for traffic behind it. You may get amazing extra reach or results or reactions, but is that really the audience you're looking for? Like, think about the people you want to be reaching more, and make sure the content you choose or the posts that you choose that did perform well for you is pretty aligned, like really aligned with who your ideal customer is. So I picked one that was very aligned with my ideal customer, and in the last 90 days had performed really well. So, and really well is relative, like seriously, totally relative, because let me give you my example first from my podcast. I mean, I'm only been advertising on Meta with my podcast, this podcast you're listening to, for like 4 months. Like, the data is baby fresh. Like, there is not much data for Meta to use. So when I look at what performed well with organic social media for my podcast, then the metrics are very small, but it doesn't matter how big or small they are because it's relative. It just needs to be performing well compared to the others. So you're just picking something from your account that performs well compared to the other content in your account. Not like, you don't need to choose a post or look for a post that had a reach of 30,000 or something, because if you're not famous or a giant multi-million dollar brand, you probably don't even have that. I certainly don't have that. You probably don't have that either. It doesn't matter how big the number is as far as, mathematically, but it needs to be big relative to your other content. So I picked a video post for this podcast that I've now turned into an ad campaign. I've actually turned it into a traffic landing page views campaign. I trust you're finding value in this episode. This podcast is all about sharing the wins and behind the scenes challenges that come with growing an online business in Australia. Whether you're a business owner who's ready to step up your marketing game, or you're tired of doing everything DIY with mixed results, you're in the right place. Let's talk about what it really takes to build trust, boost visibility, and create a sustainable business. If you're a small Aussie business looking for marketing support on a project-by-project basis, you can find me at Aussie Online, growing on shopify.com.au, where you can book yourself a free discovery call. It'll only be 25 minutes and you can put it straight in my calendar. I've spent over $100,000 in the last few years on Meta, learning and growing and building several brands. If you found the Facebook and Instagram advertising world a little overwhelming, I encourage you to reach out to me for some specific support that's tailored towards your business goals, without the crazy high retainer price and lack of transparency you may have experienced with an agency. And if you're not sure if you're ready yet to book your free discovery call, no worries. I have dozens of episodes you can go back and listen to for you or your staff to implement some marketing tactics and tricks and strategies DIY in your business to get you more discoverability online. Head to Aussie Online, growing on shopify.com.au. You'll find all my episodes there, plus any free resources that I have. I also post them there too. Hit subscribe and let's grow together. Now back to the episode. I do pick on that campaign objective a bit with Meta because the traffic can be a bit junky, but I'm only spending a few dollars a day on it, so I'm gonna run that for a little while, and then I'll test the results in Google Analytics. It'll get me cheaper results than a sales viewed content campaign objective will, and because the ad account is still fairly young, there's not a lot of data in it. For me to get a viewed content result on Meta with the podcast cost me lots of money, like quite a lot, like too much. So I'm going, higher in the funnel. Like, I'm going higher in the funnel with my objective rather than lower in the funnel with my objective for the podcast. So I'm actually running a traffic landing page views campaign with an existing post. So when you build the campaign, you end up on the ads page of Ads Manager. Instead of creating a post, you'll use the drop down that says use existing post, and then you need to go back through your content and find that existing post. The best thing about this is you can now edit the post. You can edit the post. You can add a button to it. And before you add a button to it, what I actually did was, when I looked at the content back when I decided what post to use, I then went and found the post on my page in my feed, and I used the 3 dots and edited the actual post and added a couple of emojis, spread out the copy a little bit, just made it look a little bit more professional and structured like I would like in an ad campaign, because when it was an organic post, it was an organic post. I'm just pumping organic posts out. I wasn't thinking I would eventually use it as an ad. But now I am going to use it as an ad. So I edited the post first in Facebook and edited it and added a couple of emojis and spaced out the text and added a new link and then saved that existing post. And then go into Ads Manager, build the campaign, and then instead of creating an ad, you're going to use an existing post and you're going to find that post in the big table, the big dialog box that pops up, and you'll be able to see that it's now edited as well with how you edited the caption. So you'll see that, and then you also are able to edit it further by adding a button to it. So there's a couple of things you should do, and then before you launch the campaign. So find the content you want to use. Ideally, go and edit it slightly, like just edit the caption out, make it look a little more professional, like you would want an ad to look. And then when you find the ad in Ads Manager, when you're building the campaign, you want to now add a button to it as well. So I've done that with the podcast here. And it's only been running for a few days. So I've only got a few days of data to tell you, not something terribly groundbreaking. But when I look at, what am I looking at, the metric here? In Google Analytics, the average engagement time, in other words, the average amount of time a user is spending on my website when they head to my website from this ad, it's my top performing at the moment. So at the moment, just after a few days of spending some money on boosting this existing post that performed well for me in the last 90 days, I've turned it into an ad. And in the last few days, it's now my top performing in Google Analytics for the average amount of time someone is spending on my website. Like, how good is that? This is how organic social media can be your testing ground for finding some great content to run as ads. The other one in my e-commerce store has been running for a few days as well. This is just a few days, and Meta takes like a week before it really starts to find its feet. So these results are obviously super preliminary, but I still want to tell you how they're going. With my e-commerce brand as well, I did the same thing, found an existing post that was performing well, that was a bit about my products, that wasn't a sale, that what else was I saying about, that spoke to my ideal customers. It wasn't on the edge, like my content that's more on the edge. It was more directly speaking to my customers. And I've turned that into an ad. What type of ad have I turned it into? A viewed content ad. So this one is sales viewed content. I want people to my website and I want them to view the content, and I'm sending them to a product. And at the moment, that ad that was an organic post that is now turned into an ad is, let me see, has my highest engaged sessions in Google Analytics. So for the few day window I looked at, it is my third top performing as far as driving engaged sessions to the website. So my third top performing out of the number of engaged sessions. And my engagement rate for it is really high too. It's actually 100%, which is 100%. Can't get better than that. So the engagement rate is 100%, which is amazing. But it's my third top driver for engaged sessions of pushing users to my website. So I'm stoked about that. Let me give you one more example before I go. If you need another example to encourage you to go ahead and do this work, that is, I've been running a post as an ad for a month now with my e-commerce store. And it was a bit of a meme, or a bit of a, I guess it's a bit, you call it a bit of a meme, a bit of like a headline post, a bit of like a trying to connect with my ideal customers, a bit like not a joke, but I guess a bit of a meme that's done well for me organically. So when I was looking through what content to use, I decided to use this post that had performed really well for me on reach organically. And I've been running it now for a month. And the type of campaign I did was an engagement campaign, so post-engagement campaign for this ad. That's what I decided to turn the organic post into. I chose that objective because this is part of my top of funnel exercises to build out my warm audiences towards Black Friday. So I actually wanted a post-engagement campaign to spend money with advertising on, to continue to build out that group of users on Facebook and Instagram who have engaged with my brand, to be able to retarget them for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I've been running this campaign now for a month, and the results are amazing. I have never had a campaign perform so well. And that just goes to show how good this strategy is, to go back and find something that's done well for you organically and turn it into an ad. So this meme, this little graphic, it's an image that I've been running as an ad now for a month to a cold audience, like to my best performing interest cold audience of about 3 million users on Facebook and Instagram. In a month, it's reached 8,000, which I'm really happy with. It's had 1,200 reactions, 41 comments, and 73 shares, which I'm stoked with. Like, for me and my little e-commerce brand, that's an amazing result. I'm really happy with that because the results are costing me like 10 cents each. Like, I'm getting a post engagement for about 10 cents each, which is amazing. I'm stoked with that. The great thing about this, of course, is now when I go into my ads manager every week, I've got heaps of invitations to send out. So you know how you can go into your ads manager and you can send invites out to those who've interacted with your page, like they've reacted to it or left a comment. You can invite them to like your page. I've sent out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of invitations in the last month to people who've interacted with my brand who don't follow me yet to like my page. And these people are now caught up in one of my warm custom audiences of people who've interacted with my brand and who've liked to post, which means they will see more of my other ads. They will see more of my organic posts as well. Like, all of this is towards building a robust social media strategy with each component supporting each other. So I'm stoked with the results of having run this campaign for 1 month for just $3 a day. I'm only doing $3 a day, and I'm getting 10 cents per result for people who are interacting with this post. And I've had 73 shares on it, which I'm wrapped with. If somebody's sharing a post, it's really resonating with my community. Like, it's really hitting a point with my ideal customer, and they're really connecting with it. And that's because it did well organically. That's because when I looked at the content in the last 90 days of all my organic content, and I looked at my top performing based on reach, this was one of my top performing organic social media posts by reach. I've turned it into a post engagement ad, and now I've been running it for a month, and I've invited hundreds and hundreds of people to like my page, and I've reached now 8,000 accounts with this post. And of course, this kind of steamrolls. So like, the more people, like, you probably find the same if you are scrolling on social media and you see a sponsored post that's had stacks of engagement with it, you are also more likely to engage with it. If somebody sees this in their feed and sees it's already been shared 73 times, or 8,000 people have already reacted to it, they're far more likely to hit a like or a love, or to send it to a friend on Messenger, or to comment and tag their buddy and things like that. So again, this is all about going back and looking at your organic social media. So a reason why putting time and effort into a good organic strategy and boosting your organic social media calendar, filling it, adding some posts, putting out a post every day, repeating posts. Like, don't just do these things once. If you are creating organic evergreen content, like, duplicate it and have it repeat again and again in 60 days or 90 days, so that you are gradually starting to bulk out your brand's online social presence without feeling like you need to reinvent the wheel from scratch every time. And then go look after a few months at what has been performing well for you, relatively performing well. It might be you reached, I don't know, 100 people with a post, and maybe some of your other posts reach 10 people. You've got a clear winner there. So it doesn't matter the number. Maybe your post reached 10,000 people as opposed to reaching 1,000 people. That gives you a clear winner. And then go spend some money on it. You already know it's going to do well. Whether it gets you sales is another thing. Like, don't take this post I have had that's done well for a month as a meme and turn it into a purchase conversion campaign. Like, that's a complete disconnect. It needs to connect with the user on social media. It needs to make sense. So a meme makes sense to be a post engagement campaign. The video I've now started to run as an existing post of a product, a video I did of a product, makes sense to run as a viewed content ad or a purchase conversion ad or something pushing people to my website. So make sure your objective aligns with the type of content you are using that you've evaluated has done well. So yeah, I encourage you to go do this. Let me know how you go. If you find something and you turn it into an ad and you get great results from it, please let me know. I'd love to know how well this strategy goes for you. And if you needed some encouragement to go and build out your social media calendar for the next 30 days, I hope this gives you an encouragement to do so as well, so that then you can look in 30 days time and decide what's worth spending money on some ads for your own brand. And of course, as well, knowing, just trust me on this. I see it time and time again with clients' accounts. I see it in my own account. The organic social media post, your organic social media will be a driver of quality traffic. In Google Analytics, you will find those people spend longer on your website. They click around your website more. Those people are engaged users. So if that's another reason you need to go and build out your social media content and your calendar for the next 30 days, please do so. And then go back and look at your Google Analytics and see if that traffic was driving quality users to your website, because I bet it was. It always does. I don't want to say always. That feels like really, I'm tempting fate there. Every account I've looked at, it has, including my own. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for hanging out for me. As always, hey, in e-commerce, we are CEOs. We are learning entrepreneurs coming across new challenges, solving problems every day. So as always, keep learning.